Morning, everybody. It's 8:13 a.m. It's August 15th. Welcome to my channel. Another yesterday wild day. Really pre-market. PPI coming in extremely hot. Market didn't like it, and then, like I was talking about yesterday on my stream, once it went down, I said the market might just price that in right there, and it did. So it pretty much went down, and the market didn't care. That was the little price in. Now, could that change? Possibly. But again, the market spoke. Initial down, and that's all she wrote. Right, kind of crazy, right? But that's how the market works. Now, today is OPEX, right? Monthly expiration, so a lot of money will come off the table today. It's not a quad witching day, but it's definitely a lot of money comes off the table. And then it gets reset for the next monthly expiration, which would be the third Friday in September. Okay? So, typically on an OPEX day, you'll get some volatility, then followed by maybe late in the afternoon, some stocks might pin to large gamma levels. Okay, that's how uh, it works. Sometimes it doesn't work like that, and you know, so I have like large gammas. I put gamma levels every day on my charts. Right now, I don't have them on there, and I noticed that when I do API calls for my options for the gamma levels, I used to be able to get them at 9 a.m. Now, I don't know. Charles Schwab, I guess, is not giving access to the options market anymore prior to the open. So now I have to run it at 9:30. It's kind of annoying because it was part of my prep in the morning. Good thing that I have a script and it just makes an indicator that I put on my screen, so I really don't have to do anything. But I like usually to check them. But now that kind of like, you know, that kind of like stinks now. I really like that. Maybe that's going to change. I don't know. I got to reach out to them to see if that's the way it's going to be now. But that's what's going on. Um, what else we got going on today? We have Michigan consumer sentiment that usually drives markets. So that's at 10 a.m. So again, I'm probably not going to do anything till the dust settles, maybe till 5-10 minutes after that number comes out. That always causes some kind of number, some kind of reaction. Okay. And the Nasdaq has pretty much been in a range for multiple hours. All right, that 2393 fives or something like that is just the big price. All right, that the Nasdaq keeps trading around. So that's what's going on there. There's some news we could talk about in a little bit. I think we're ready to get just right into this. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile, volume profile to find structure in the markets along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That all helps me with my edge. Okay, how I look at the markets. And I use Anchor VWAPs. My trusty market internals, my bread and butter. My free indicator that I run every week and share with you on my Discord. That's the weekly expected move. And my new baby, Bookmap. That has been pretty much a game changer for me. Bookmap. Knew about it for 7 years. Never, for some reason, pulled the trigger. Maybe I was being cheap. Maybe I just didn't want another tool. Probably all of the above. And I was like, I don't know. Well, yeah, now that I'm using it, it's pretty much gives you confidence, or gives me confidence to pull triggers, right? Because you're seeing bid and ask. It's not by time. So that's an advantage, and you see things so much clearer, right? Maybe somebody else tries it and they don't, but it's been awesome. Okay. Now, of course, I'm here every day, every morning. Hopefully, you guys can subscribe and set that alert. All right. If you're new, please sign up. I'll give you the market story. If you're new, understand trading, watch the first 15, 20 minutes or so. I pretty much talk about the markets, what's going on. It's not really advanced. Yeah, then later on, technical analysis comes in. You're probably not going to understand what I'm saying. Stick around if you want, and maybe you can learn. Okay? Stick around and maybe you can learn. And I give you technical analysis, all that stuff, okay? Now, if you want a more in-depth commentary from me, you join my Discord, Confluence Trading. Okay, there, let me be your indicator. I comment all day on what I see in the markets. I never steer you wrong. I let you know what the internals are telling me. I let you know my setups. Okay, let you know when I put a trade on. I've been live all week, so come in, join me. Okay, got a couple people who come in there. Of course, I want to answer questions, so please feel free to join me. All right, let me be your indicator. Like I said, it's not my job to show you how to trade. It's how to see the market and understand how the market works. Okay, so join up. All right, go to my YouTube homepage and click on the link. All right, now let's get right into futures. This is a Friday. This is the summer, but this week's been not bad. So let's see. Boom. And here we go with our futures watch list. Let's see what's moving markets. Ethereum's up 2.19. Bitcoin's up 1.92. Dow's up 0.55. The Dow is up like that because of United Healthcare. Okay. Russell is up 0.20. ES up 0.10. Gold flat. 10-year yield flat. 30-year bonds flat. Nasdaq's down 0.09. Dollar is down 0.37, silver is down 0.47, crude down 0.64, and the VIX is down 1.4%. We're back down to a 14.6 VIX, which is, the tempo is not great. Now, yesterday, we got a little pop in the VIX from the PPI. We had a decent tempo in trading. Today, I hopefully we get something like that, because otherwise it could be pretty snooze fest, but it is OPEX. OPEX, OPEX, I don't know how you pronounce it. But bottom line is money's coming off the table today. Okay? Now let's look at the Mag 7 Plus here and what is driving the markets. Eli Lilly. Now remember, healthcare has been a sector that's been destroyed. Okay? Eli Lilly has broke its expected move to the downside 2 weeks in a row. Now today it's broke its expected move to the upside. It was bound to get bought. Now remember, Trump's going after pharma. They got bad news that their pill, I believe, did not perform as well as the injections for the weight loss. Okay, they also underperformed Novo Nordisk's, I believe it's called Wegovy. But at the end of the day, it's not like they don't make money. Okay, so they're ripping. Right, that's the number one holding in healthcare. Second is United Healthcare. Okay. They are ripping, almost up 2%. Berkshire Hathaway mentioned some things, and the reason United Healthcare is up today is Warren Buffett purchased United Healthcare. So that's a big sign, because that company makes money, got good cash flow. Yes, they had some controversy, but probably we're going to see that stock double in the next couple of years. Just don't know when. So that's getting a big lift today. All right. GE up 0.60, just took a dive a little bit. That almost hit the expected move to the downside. I don't expect more downside to this stock this week. All right. Amazon hit its expected move yesterday. Okay. Google, we got to talk about it. Let's just see if there's any laggards. There is not a laggard. Now remember, AMD also hit its expected move earlier in the week at 185. So look at that stock that has not really been able to go across that, because that's what the option market's priced in, right? Okay. I did add yesterday in my channel. Yesterday, you can see it right here. I put stocks hit their expected move for the week are Amazon, AMD, Eli Lilly, Netflix, Coinbase, Berkshire Hathaway, and GE. All right. Now, moving on. Top sector stocks here. You can see United Healthcare is up 10.46%. That's pretty monster move. It's up like $30. Okay. So what else is there to note? We also got Salesforce up 1.24%. CAT is your laggard. Let's look at some granular list here. Well, okay. Bosch Health, that is up 9.85. A Nubank up 9.49. Twilio up 4.64. Tilray's up 3.3. Now we'll just stay with this 1%. Lennar up 3.1. Now I believe Warren Buffett also bought DHI, and maybe, don't quote me, but I believe that's D Horton, something like that. It's a home builder. I don't get me. I know he bought some home builders because he's anticipating these cuts, which rates will go down. So Lennar is a home builder. Toll Brothers also, so they're down there too. All right. Let's see what's not getting love today. Whoa, Applied Materials getting pretty destroyed here. Down 13.25%. Roblox down 5.61%. Lam Research, another semi, down 4.67%. CoreWeave continues to fall, down 4%. HIMS down 2.61%. ASML, so some semis getting hit today. Interesting. Okay. Oops, didn't want to do that. All right, moving on to the sectors. That's what I really care about. And then you see your healthcare up 1.08%. That's healthcare. That's United Healthcare and Eli Lilly. Okay. There's not much to talk about here. Your laggard, see, is semis. Now, AMD and Nvidia aren't really hurt, but I just showed you a bunch of semis that are. Semis down 1.05%. That is risk off, folks. Now, can this get bought up? Yes. Okay. Yes. Now, one thing that I did notice yesterday, I've talked about it on my channel. Let's go to a quick chart here. I'm going to show you certain levels here. Certain levels here. Okay, let's go over here real quick. This is your SPY, right? Expected move for today is for the week, but it would be for today for the range for the week, 648.92. We're at 645. All right. Now, what I want to show you is certain stocks that I noticed before the open yesterday. Let's go to here. Let's go to. Okay, so I was looking yesterday at some stocks, right? And I noticed where AMD was, right? And I was like, okay, AMD hit the previous day's lows. Where was it? Where was that pre-market? Right here, yeah. And then that didn't do much yesterday, right? But I noticed it was going to hit a low. So I was like, okay, I could get bought. I noticed Amazon was consolidating and could break out. Look at all this consolidation, and then boom, broke last week's highs yesterday, right? Hit its expected move to the upside. Here's Broadcom. Ticker Avgo. Hit two previous daily lows, and yesterday hit that low pre-market and ripped, right? Well, there was another one here. Was it Nvidia? Nvidia was the other one. Nvidia is really coiling, okay? Really coiling. So I noticed it too. All right, daily low, daily. These blue lines are daily lows, okay? So yesterday, pre-market, I was like, oh, there's the previous daily low right here, another daily low, and then it came. And when we opened, literally, it opened, literally tested it and drove up. So I was like, man, all these stocks are at key levels. They either are going to get crushed or people are going to buy them. And what happened is people bought them. Okay? People took that as an opportunity to buy them. I just wanted to share that with you. There's always a reason, okay? And trust me, your boy's going to find it. All right? So let's go back to this chart. Really? Yeah, okay. All right. Let's move on to economic calendar. We'll go back, okay? Here we go. I don't know if Rosita's here. Very busy woman. She's been coming in the Discord, but then she fades away. What do we got today? Retail sales at 8:30. It really doesn't usually move markets. And Michigan consumer sentiment. That's the big one. 10 a.m. That's the big one. 10 a.m. All right. Now let's look at some stocks here. Let's go here. Let's refresh this. Here we go. DR Horton. See, you're going to see the DR Horton. That's the Berkshire Hathaway purchase. All right. United Healthcare stock rose 11% after Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway disclosed a new investment deeply in unpopular health insurer. Intel stock rose 1.4, adding to earlier gains following a Bloomberg report that Trump administration is discussing the possibility of the U.S. government taking stake in the chip maker. Here's why Applied Materials stock tumbled 14%. The chip equipment maker issued weak fourth quarter forecasts on sluggish China demand. D.R. Horton, DHI, like what I thought, and Lennar gained 4% after Berkshire also boosted its bet on home builders. Target stock fell 1.6 after the Bank of America downgraded stance on the retailer. Twilio stock rose 3.8 with the cloud communications company set to join the S&P Mid-Cap 400 index following United Healthcare's acquisition. I don't know how to say that. Amedisys. Let's go to more news here. Let's go here. U.S. Senators call for Metaprobe. Hedge fund shifts bets to double down on the big tech and AI boom. Let's see here. If I don't see anything that stands, Salesforce. Let's see. Activist Starboard Value, one of the first bets to publicly push Salesforce to make changes 3 years ago, increase its stake in the U.S. software company. Okay. Trump's attack on Goldman could prompt wavering down on Wall Street's independent analysis. All right. And that's about it there. Let's look at the juice here. Let's see. Trump just this morning's talking. Let's see. Trump on trade. I'll be setting tariffs on steel, chips next week. Interesting. Trump on steel, chip tariffs. Rate is going to be lower at the beginning. Okay. Let's see here. Nothing to see here. With Trump and Putin meetings at 2:30, hope to be done with the markets by then. So and that's not good. That shouldn't bother me. Let's just real quick to see. Sometimes this is not the best for upgrades and downgrades. Let's see. We do have an update. Salesforce upgraded. That's why that is up. What is else here? All right. Wingstop and downgrades. Let's see if there's any downgrades. BJ's downgraded. Let's see here. All right. That's all we're going to talk about there. Let's look at breadth real quick. Remember, that's the percentage of stocks over the 20-day simple moving average, and we are at the 57. Yesterday it went down. It was up to 60 something. Went down a little. So this is still in the middle. It means the overall market of S&P 500 is kind of in the middle. Okay, not the strongest. Okay, not the strongest. And let's see here. Let's go to Fed Watch tool. Let's see if anything has been changed here with the percentages. It went down a little bit. Actually went down a little bit. Let's see here. Let's go to compare. So a day ago we were at 92.4. Did it go down? 92.6. Well, I just checked it the other day. It was at 99. So it did go down, but it's not showing it here. I guess it updates throughout the day. So we're still expecting a quarter point basis cut on September 17th. We don't have a Fed meeting in August. Okay, we have 33 days, 5 hours. It shows you right up here. All right. Okay. Why don't we go right into the market internals recap? So let me pull that up for you guys. And the market internals and markets with my rules has really been holding me in check, right? Let's just give you that market internals recap here. So basically, what I've been telling my community in the mornings is this is August, lower volume, right? What you see every day with internals is a disconnection a lot. Something's driving, something's lagging. The markets kind of look a little weird. So every day, pretty much so far this week, the NASDAQ and the ES have been disconnected. So my rule that I'm honoring now, every day, as soon as I see they're disconnected, I don't even look. I don't even look at my trigger chart, my smaller time frames. I don't even care until I see, oh, okay, they're both at the highs, they're both at the lows, they're both at the mid, they're like in sync. Because if you trade that non in sync, now scalpers ignore me. If you trade that not in sync, prepare to get frustrated, prepare to get chopped up. So I don't do nothing until I see them in sync. Right? Name of the game in trading is, I just had a conversation with one of my friends yesterday, is to find stuff to make you not trade. You're your worst enemy. And you need to find safeties to make you, like on a gun, a safety, to not pull the trigger. That's going to keep you in the game. All right. And I try to find more and more stuff to make me not trade. because I know when a good setup's there. So here's internals. Okay, let's look at them. Very weird. Okay, and we had multiple distributions yesterday. Multiple. The market found volume accumulated at one level, then it switched to another level, and then it started accumulating the volume at another level. So which makes the trading day a little difficult. Okay. Now as far as internals here, look at the reds here. This is Vol D. You have 2.5 to 1 selling going into down stocks versus up stocks. That's usually like kind of bearish, right? Same with the now the 1-to-1 is benign. Okay. So in the overall market, it was kind of like down. Now this is from previous day's close. Okay, that tends to skew the numbers. Skew the numbers. Okay, because we were gap down, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong with that. Let me just make sure of that. Did we open the gap? Yeah, I can't remember now. We'll look at it later. All right, so bottom line, I'm losing you here. So see the disconnection right off the open. Equal weight was weaker than market cap. Then it like went down and then blah, blah, blah. And it just was never weak. This is the only ever weakness. And I entered a trade around this time. Right? I entered a trade because at the time, all 40s were green. Now remember, that's from the open. That's the key with my market internals. They're from the open. I don't care about yesterday's close. I want to know what's driving the market from the open. That's very key. Okay? So, and then it just, look what happened. It just gained strength over the rest of the day. Okay? That's your market internals recap. All right. Let's move on to daily charts. Okay. Now remember, like I said, SPY's expected move for the week up to the upside is 548.92. We're at 645. So we're not there. We got room to move up. Okay, doesn't mean you have to. Remember, that's just the range, expected range. Okay, so let's look at the SPY, and we basically had a balance there, right? Had a doji, and we stayed within the prior day's range. Closed literally unchanged from the prior day. Where are we now? 646. 646. We're right here. We're gapping up a little bit. Okay, now I know the close is here, so that if people look at stocks for the close, then we have a decent gap. Okay, from the close. All right, and let's look at futures. Now look what we did. We're still holding true to this. Now on this particular chart, black candles means a red candle, but so it's black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white. Literally every other day. So today, are we due for a down day? That's what it says here. But the trend has been up, right? Trend has been up. All right, let's look at the Qs. It's good old Qs. Now the Qs, interesting, was relatively weak in structure yesterday, right? That didn't have a sideways day. You closed lower. Not by much, but a little lower, right? So you made a lower high. You didn't just go sideways, all right? Now, Apple was weak. Was Apple weak yesterday? A little bit. I'm trying to see. Microsoft, yeah. So Microsoft and Apple were not very strong yesterday. Tesla wasn't very strong. Let's see what else here. I'm just looking real quick at some stocks. AMD did nothing. Netflix had a nice day. That literally landed on its expected move. That's where it closed. So yeah, some heavyweights didn't really, I mean, that's why the market was weird. Okay. Where are we at now? 579.70, blah, 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 right here. We're at the close of yesterday, basically. Okay. So it's not looking too great in the Nasdaq as far as structure. Anything can happen. Anything. Now, if there's going to be a rotation, because we're in August going into September, seasonally weak generally, maybe we're going to see a rotation into healthcare. And then people are going to start rotating their money out of tech, putting it into healthcare, And if tech gets sold, healthcare gets up, it's going to go with where tech's going, even though healthcare could be maybe getting bought. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Let's look at futures. Futures, you just see it's like 3 sessions of sideways, pretty much, right? That's last month's highs. That's last week's highs. So we're above last week still, not by much, not by much. And look at the indecisions of these days. This is the whole session from the prior night at 6 p.m. all the way to the 5 p.m. close. So that's what this is. Candles represent. But still, we're not really going anywhere. Okay, not really going anywhere. All right, so that's the daily charts. Now we're gonna move on. Do I look at hourlies today? Do we really need to? I don't think so. I don't really think so. Triple-headed monster. I don't really think that's necessary. Okay. I showed you RRG charts this week. We already talked about our expected moves. All right. Talked about market internals. Now I did have a trade. Now I could go over some of my trades yesterday very quickly. Okay. Let me bring my Discord up. And you learn a lot, right? When track stuff. So how to trade? I had 2 trades yesterday. Now I got long ES right here, 4-point risk. Was looking at this particular trade like 10-point move. You can see the initial trade I put on had nice excursion. I think I was up 6, almost 7 points. Generally, I go to break even if I get that kind of move, right? And I was looking at the book map, the order flow. That's what made me get in. And at this point, ticks were bloody red. And if you look at this chart, while I was in the trade, the VPOC shifted down to here. And that's usually not the best. And ticks were super red. And I was just like, you know what? This is consolidating here. Like this could take out this double bottom here. And I was like, probability wise, I've seen this before. And generally, when you have ticks that red, you lose this. So I said, you know what? I'll put it to break even. I thought about either this candle's low or the break even. Well, I wound up getting whipped out, and it never even would have hit this low, right? So then I reviewed it here. You can see my trade reflections. I talk about what I saw. Okay, now this is where you review it. And I said on this particular trade, I initially got around 6 points of excursion. Then because ticks were so red and the VPOC shifted lower, I didn't like my odds, so I went to break even. I just replayed the trade in Bookmap. I did see another trade to enter. There was aggressive sellers that got caught right before the move happened. So the lesson here is I'm okay with going to break even. Original thesis was correct. I had another shot at my long. Also, there was a major level there to defend. 64.68 in the previous day low was there. So here's Bookmap. And you can see right here, sellers got caught on that last push down. And then it rocketed. So once I took that off, it was a little later, past 12, 30 something. I should have still stalked it because I even said in my when I put the trade on, I said this could definitely still work, and it did. And then I pretty much watched it, and I was like, man, that stinks. That would have hit my target. I would have been a nice trade, right? Well, I took another trade. I shorted later in the day, and I generally don't trade at that time, but the profile of this day, you can see the multiple distributions I was talking about. A key level was 64.80 here. Okay, here's another 4-point stop. And I got like almost 7, 8 points. I think I got 7 and change points on this particular trade. You can see my targets. I was going for a bigger target here, about 12 points for 4-point risk, and I was going for the low of day. Okay, because typically in a day like this, internals weren't very strong. And I was like, hey, we could get weak, take out these 64.80s and really go back down again. That wasn't in the cards. So once I got 7 points to 64.80, I moved my stop to break even. And eventually it was balancing here. I was like, man, just break. And it went up and clipped my break even. Okay. But I didn't take any heat on this trade at all. So with the help of bookmap. Okay, getting my entries, that risk to reward is really, really pivotal. It's really helping me. Okay, and you can see here in live market when I talk about the trade right here, I said at break even, don't like ticks, out flat. This could still work. However, 64.72 is VPOC. Ticks are really red. Internals are still not really weak. I think I would like 64.68 to be taken out and then a reclaim. Well, that didn't happen. Okay. So that's the stuff you're going to see in my Discord. Of course, I give live updates and commentary. All right. And again, join if you like. All right. Let's move on. Let's go to market profile, volume profile here. And we'll map out some scenarios today. All right. Let's look at it. Now remember, I keep saying bulls have the momentum. Okay. Bulls have the momentum. PPI could have been the shot, right? But it didn't happen. So let's look at profile here. We always got to look at the rolling weeks profile. And like I said, internally, these days have multiple distributions. Okay? Generally, you don't really get triple distribution days, double distribution days. Usually, you get a VPOC in the middle that kind of has the majority of the price, and then you have tails. Okay? But look at our weekly profile. Distribution here, that was ultimate balance. Then we have value area, 70% of trade, right? Look what the ES has done. 64.80 now is your most traded price of the rolling week. That is bullish because it used to be down here. See what I'm saying? See why I use this? Now, that's what I'm trying to tell you guys, right? Remember I say I use the most traded prices to find structure in the market, right? Now, the market just proved to me that price pulled value up. That's bullish. That's bullish. Okay? Price pulled value. Okay? Doesn't mean you can't fall, but that is a bullish structure. That's how I use this, right? That just told me, okay, well, the market is accepting value up here. Okay? So that is what we're looking at. Now, it's starting to look like a bullish imbalance to the profile. Now, we are gapping up very slightly right now. Gapping up very slightly. And of course, we have levels to talk about. Okay? Specifically what I just told you, 64.80s. All right? Now, we're going to make a very clear level here. So it's going to encompass a lot. Okay? Right here. That area, that's a horrible shape. However, with my horrible shape, let's talk about the levels that this encompasses. Okay? You have a confluence low. The overnight low, okay, this is important, is the close from yesterday. Is 64.80 the most traded price of the week? You also have the most traded price of yesterday, around 64.84. Okay. Right there. At the bottom of this, you have value area low from yesterday. So 64.80 becomes the bull's defense. Okay. You want to see 64.80 defended today. To me, as long as we defend it, I'm going to be bullish. Okay, see how these levels determine a little bias for me. Now again, I'm always open to whatever, but I have to know defense of that is bullish. Defense of that is bullish. Now also within this bracket is the 50% retracement of yesterday, which happens to be 64.80 is the midpoint of yesterday's range. Okay, now this gap is very small. There is a little note for a bear. talk about overnight inventory, right? Well, the open is right there. You have no shorts. So from the opening at 6, well, this is actually from 4:15. So let me just get that straight. From 4:15 to now, there has been no shorts. We're 100% net long. That is a little feather in the cap for bears. Okay? When you're 100% net long in the overnight, now let's just recap the last 3 sessions: higher low, higher low, higher low. You got some longs making money. Okay? Now, I would rather have this price be up at the highs when I have a 100% net long. So I really like to get a fade. Right? Make the weak hands in the overnight pay and liquidate their longs. I'm just letting you know that is the case here. And you do have multiple distributions in the overnight. Okay, right here. You can see it here. Distribution, distribution, distribution. Okay, now it looks like we made an overnight high, all-time high, 6508s. Now, little tip. Generally, all-time highs are not secure in the overnight. Generally, we always make all-time highs in the RTH sessions. That is a tip. Okay, that is a tip. All right, now there is a demand zone here. So you got stacked levels here, demand, and then we know we got our ultimate defense of 6480. We do have supply right here. So it's a lot of little stacked levels here, and that's no problem. That's no problem. Okay. So what are we going to do here? All right, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to come up with some scenarios. Now you do have around this area from 6460s, right, to down here. Let's just encompass this, right? Remember I did that Fibonacci yesterday. Well, that 61.8 was the key. Okay, so let's look at this and let's get into scenarios here. Like I said, I'm real patient of late, and not fake patient, not I'm struggling to be patient, like real patient. Okay, really patient. It's paying off. Okay, it's paying off. I've had a couple break evens yesterday, and that's a whole nother thing. You gotta like be okay with that, even though like I would have had a banger day with my first trade if I never touched it. Boom, bang. Short, I had about 7 points. Boom, I could have took it off and had a beautiful day. Beautiful. Okay, but that's okay. That's trading. All right. Now, let's look at it here. We're gonna go with a bull case. Let's do it. Let's do it. All right, price is here. Price is pretty much at the overnight VPOC. All right, so I'm expecting a move up or down from here. All right, if I'm a bull, okay, what I'm going to want to see, what I really like to see is because we're 100% net long, let's move up a little bit. There's a little resistance here at that 6,500 for 6502s. Maybe that causes resistance in that supply. We take out these longs from the overnight, right? Now, that's the gap fill, which is not much here. Let's say you get bulls a little nervous and you come down to this demand zone. Now, you can come out to the edge of this demand zone and you could pop up, make all-time highs. That would be perfect, right? Well, not everything's perfect. So we could also, I would love it to be quick and the internals not be weak for me. You could also come down, test the most traded prices yesterday, but here's the last line, 6480. Right? That could be perfect like this. We all know it's not all perfect. Let's say we did this, and oh my God, we lost 6480, and we're hitting value area low from yesterday. This is where I go, all right, let me use 6480 as a barometer, right? So I don't panic, and I want to see if we can reclaim it. If you reclaim it, that's a long. Below this area, I really am not interested in longs. Because remember, I said my bias might change if you find acceptance below 6480. So let's talk about those shorts. All right, let's talk about the shorts. All right, well, we know we're 100% net long. We know overnight highs are generally not secure as all-time highs, overnight highs, right? So what I would like to see, right, is let's say bulls just take charge. Boom. Make new all-time highs. They take out the overnight highs, right? Fine. Maybe you get some real nice thinning of the profile. Then you get some lower highs. Now, probably first target would be overnight VPOC around that 64, what is that, 98s. If you take that out, trust me, if you take that out, you're going to run. You're going to run, okay, to the overnight lows. It might be hard, a little like choppy in that demand zone. You're probably going to make a run into this area. And that could be it, man. That could be a beautiful trade, okay? Especially if you got tight risk, that's a monster. Now, the gravy on top of that would be what? Take out 64.80, but it's not done, right? You need this level to really, really show you that we're accepting price below it. So if we do this, and oh boy, we're here and here, we're accepting value here, and you try to retest it and reject it, boom. You could be taking out yesterday's lows and go into this area. Now, week-to-date VWAP is right here. The buyers are in control this week. This can get pretty nasty. You don't got much all the way down to the old most traded price of the week, the ultimate bounce. It used to be ultimate bounce. We're not in ultimate bounce anymore. Okay? So that's the short idea. Okay, now, if you're conservative, you wait for this break. It doesn't matter how it happens. You wait for the break of 64.80 and find acceptance. Retest, let's say it even does a little bull trap. What? Nope. Retest, and you go down. That's how you gauge it. Okay, that's how you gauge it. That's your ES. Hope everybody's watching, understands. If you have questions, please let me know. Okay, please let me know. Now, we do have a NASDAQ that's moving sideways. Okay, moving sideways like I showed you earlier. Okay, it's loving this 23935s. That's the monster level in your NASDAQ. It's the monster level. Okay, not sure if Documents is here. He likes trading in NQ. Like, we'll look at the NASDAQ here. Monster level. I said it yesterday. It became kind of like the midpoint of yesterday, right? Very balanced profile in the NASDAQ yesterday. Very balanced. It actually had a late weakness. When I short, I wish I shorted the NASDAQ because I would have been good. For some reason, late in the day, NASDAQ just all of a sudden started to get weaker. So let's look at this. It's a different story, right? Let's look at the profile. So we have excess down here. We have value area. Value area thinks all of this. Look at that. Yes, all of this makes sense, right? And your most traded price of the week, your 23935s, 23935s. Okay, so we know the main level. Now, this level is, picture it like in the middle of a seesaw. You know, like if the markets were like holding, like let's say this was really resistant and you weren't finding acceptance over it, I would say, ooh, this is like a big level. You could still trade off it. It's just that it seems the market likes to trade back and forth from it. So it's a little, I have to look at it a little differently. A little differently. Okay, now there is a pivot level that I marked on the chart. Let's call it the overnight highs around 23962. You can see I have a line here. Let's put that up there so I can see the price here. I can put a marker here. Let's just put a marker, price marker there. That is 23960. That happens to be close to your all-time overnight highs. All right, it's just a pivot level. All right, it's a pivot level. I've noticed that the market keeps respecting. All right, so I have that. I just put that on my chart. All right, now if we're going to look at the NASDAQ, we're going to map out the levels. Now, big difference of the NASDAQ is, here's your session from yesterday. Here's your overnights. You're inside the overnight session. Remember, ES was gapping up a little bit. Look at the weakness and structure in the NASDAQ. And it's you're not a great location because like you're basically in the middle of the overnights and close to the middle of yesterday. Horrible location. Horrible. Now you are 100% net long in the Nasdaq as well. Now remember, semis are weak. Remember that they're down a percent. That's tech, right? So it's just that the big boys, particularly Broadcom, ticker AVGO, Nvidia, AMD, are not as weak. So it's interesting, but I showed you Lam Research, Applied Materials, um, one's skipping my mind now. Oh, ASML, they are all weak this morning. Okay, so it's interesting. Now we'll map this out for us. Okay, we do have a supply here, right here, with that key level I talked about, right? And it encompasses a lot. What does it encompass? What does it encompass? So we have. Let me make sure what I'm seeing here. Yeah. All right. This is encompasses a lot. All right. So you have that pivot level, 2396 zeros. Happens to be the overnight highs. Happens to be a key resistance. With that level, with this box, you have that pivot level. You have overnight highs. We have the most traded price of the week and yesterday, 23935s. Okay. We have value area. We have value area highs from yesterday's session. It's just big, right? So that's just a big resistance. It's just a big level. We are underneath this level. So bias to the downside. Bias to the downside. Now, look at the profile of NASDAQ. It's got a bearish imbalance to it. Okay? A completed profile would look like this. See how we're building with the VPOX down here? That is a bearish imbalance to the profile. Okay? Now, week to date VWAPs right here, 23844s. 23844s, that lines up with yesterday's lows. All right? Now you have the PPI breakdown here, so I'm going to put a box that encompasses yesterday's lows, the week to date VWAP, and last week's highs. Right here. Okay? We know we got supply that came into this supply zone up here as well, yesterday's session. Okay, let me break out the profile for you. I didn't do that in ES, I apologize. All right, let's look at this. Okay, let's look at this. You could see just in this thing, you have very poor structure here. You tested this low so many times, it's begging to be broken. It's begging to be broken. And it lines up right there with yesterday's close. All right, we come down there, I think we should revisit yesterday's lows very easily. Okay, very easily. Let me throw this to the back. Oh, it is to the back. Hold on. Maybe it's this level. I just want to make you guys see everything. There we go. Send it to the back. Okay. Now, let's get into some scenarios. Come on. I don't want to keep you guys here all day. I'm just throwing out golden nuggets left and right. Air 902. Okay. I've been a little mouthy today. All right, let's now start out with the bearish side because we're underneath that major level. All right, what do I want to see? All right, if I'm a bear, I kind of would want to see some type of test of this area. Right, 239s, 35s. That's the most traded price of the week yesterday, and we have that pivot level 2369. So even if we come up here and test that, reject. I'd like to see a retest of this level, and then we could take out those overnight lows. Remember, the 100% net long. We're probably going to visit yesterday's lows and the week-to-date VWAP. If you take this out, you don't have much volume here. I think you do test last week's highs. That's your 23765s. Okay? You do have some volume here, so this could stop it. Okay? And that could be your move down. Okay? Anything above this level, up in here, you probably don't have a weak market. Okay? You probably don't have a weak market. Honestly, that's probably the only thing I'm looking at. I mean, yes, if we do just go like this, Don't get me wrong. If we start to build out an acceptance here, maybe the VPOC moves lower, and we pull back here. Maybe I like go long. It just depends on how internals are. This though is picture perfect. Okay, that is picture perfect. Now go to longs. Let's talk about those longs. All right, we do have a demand here. This support I told you is begging to be broken. Now, if the market does this very quickly, and I think it could, if it comes down, breaks that, and tests the week-to-date VWAP in yesterday's lows, some buyers will probably be there. Probably people taking profits. This, I want to see what kind of tail we put in. If you do this and then make a higher low, and the internals are not that weak, you could go right up to where? Your 239s, 35s. If you break above that, break this supply zone, you need to break the overnight highs and retest. We could then challenge yesterday's highs at 240s and then see if we can make all-time highs. This, I don't know if this is going to happen. Okay? I'm more on the side of a short on the NASDAQ. But let it prove me wrong with price structure. Let it prove me wrong. Okay? Anything below in this area, if we come down here, I'm probably not interested to do a short. I'm probably done for the day. I mean, interested in the long, and I'm probably done for the day. Okay? That's it, folks. That is it. Thank you for spending some time with me. All right? If you enjoyed that, please smash the like button. All right? That'd be much appreciated. All right? Can use all the help you can give me. All right? And of course, join me every morning. I do this every morning, give you the market story, give you a bunch of technical analysis. And I just gave you long and short trade scenarios and how to have a roadmap. That is the key. You have to have a process. You have to have a plan, right? My process, you see it every morning. How do I look at the markets? Most trader prices, you know, basically it's no different than anybody else, but I use market profile, volume profile to come up with a game plan, right? That makes me structure a process. You need that. You need to have something tell you, if this does this, I do X, Y, Z. If you don't have that, you're gambling. Because you need to be able to repeat something. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Because if you can't repeat it, then you're a gambler. All right? I remember trading when I just started. And whenever I had a green day, that means I know how to trade. And whenever I had a red day, it means I had bad trades. But I know how that goes. You can have a bad trade make you money, and you think you know what you're doing. That's the problem when you don't have an edge in the beginning. You really just don't know. You don't know. You think green means good and red means bad, right? I know I've been in many trades where I had the thesis right. I get stopped out, it wicks me, and then goes in my direction. I had the right trade, right? So, just letting you know that. Okay? Just letting you know that. Now, of course, if you want to join me today, I should be live. If I'm not live, it's because I don't see anybody there or nobody's telling me, hey, can you go live? I'd like to ask you questions. Please do. That's what I would love to do, answer your questions. All right? If I go live in my Discord. So my Discord is Confluence Trading. All right? Go to my YouTube homepage. Click on the link. I don't know why my voice is hold on a second. Maybe, all right, here we go. All right, so click on the link like I said. Join up, sign up. Let me be your indicator. See how I look at the markets. All right? I know I have some internal fans in there that I made internal fans. I know two people now. One guy, good friend of mine I talked to yesterday, created his own internals. He coded it himself. I just found that out yesterday. And then another good friend of mine, he went and got the weighted ADD indicator from Shadow Trader, and he has his own internal window with ticks and all that stuff. So, hey, the more people I can get on board with that, you'll get it when you see it, why it does what it does. Okay? So, everybody, hope to see you in my Discord. If not, I'll see you Monday morning. All right, everybody, have a great day.